Large scale RC cars like the Traxxas X-Max and the 30 Degrees North short course truck, are they really worth the money? Apart from being giant beasts, do these RC cars have any benefit compared to the smaller scale RC cars? And I know I can have just as much fun with some of my smaller cars, so is it worth spending over £1,000 or $1,000 for one of these giant RC cars? Now, this is well known for being one of the best bashers in the world, and it's also one of the brand's most controversial trucks. And that is because as soon as you get this thing out the box, well, it doesn't quite perform as well as you would expect. And you would expect a truck that costs this much to perform really well out the box. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't perform as well as you would expect as soon as you get it out the box. The steering servo's not great, and the included electronics aren't great either. And once you've spent close to £1,500 or $1,500, you may then have a fairly decent truck. And I have to agree, that is a colossal amount of money for an RC car. Now, this thing is one of the largest RC cars you can currently buy, and when you compare it to some of the other popular trucks out there, I think you can see just how big it really is. And sometimes, unless you see one in person, you really can't get an idea as to how huge the X-Max really is. Now, here's a quick comparison against the Team Corrali Kagama, which is a 1/8 scale Truggy, the Maverick Quantum 2 Flux, which is a normal sized 1/10 scale monster truck, and of course the Team Associated Rival MT10, which is classed as a smaller 1/10 scale truck. And I think you can quite clearly see just how enormous this truck is. So is the X-Max just a bit too big? Because I think the sweet spot sits around here. And these two trucks are going to pretty much be perfect for any situation. So why would you go bigger if the 1/8 scale and 1/10 scale trucks do a perfectly good job? Now, one of the things about these trucks is the fact that they're so heavy, and when you're using them, they don't hop around as much as the smaller trucks. Oh, that is a heavy truck. Oh, and this is even heavier. So the extra weight does make these things more planted when in use. I also find they're easier to work on because everything is so much larger, including all the parts and hardware. And of course, who doesn't want to say that they own a giant RC car? Now, going large scale for some people will obviously bring along some issues, and one of the biggest ones is storage space. And because, as I mentioned before, these trucks are absolutely enormous. Finding suitable locations to drive them can also be really difficult, especially the large scale petrols, and it's not always down to their size. There is something else that makes location choice a tough one, but we'll talk about that one later. Now, the initial cost is also bigger. You have to factor in batteries and accessories before you can even fire these trucks up. But what I have found is parts tend to be cheaper in the long run, and they can be just as cheap to maintain as the smaller cars. Now, due to the increased size and weight of these trucks, there's always that chance that they could break easier. Although I have to say, I have had my X-Max a couple of years, and I've also bashed it pretty hard, and it always seems to hold up. I have found the stock body to be quite weak, but once you've reinforced it, it actually holds up pretty well. Now, I haven't replaced a lot on my X-Max, but the guys at RC All-Wheel Drive reached out and asked me if I'd like to try some of their metal upgrades. Those upgrades are now fitted, and we'll see how they hold up throughout the summer. So if you're interested, head over to RC All-Wheel Drive. I will leave a link down below, and they offer upgrades for lots of different RC cars, not just Traxxas cars. So back to the original question, are these large scale RC trucks really worth the money? So because these cars are so large and heavy, surely they don't offer a huge amount of runtime. Well, actually, no, that's not true. In fact, these trucks can go on as long as the smaller cars. And my 30 Degrees North short course truck with its 2-stroke engine and pretty large fuel tank can easily run up to 45 minutes. And this engine does run on a mix of unleaded petrol and 2-stroke cycle oil. Now, in the UK, to fill up this can is probably going to cost around £7 at the moment. And when you factor in the size of the fuel tank on the 30 Degrees North, we should get over 4 hours of runtime. 2-stroke oil is also pretty cheap, depending on brand and where you buy it from. So this enormous truck is actually pretty cheap to run. And one of the biggest benefits of a nitro RC car or a petrol large scale like this, you can just keep filling up and going. And so if we're getting up to 45 minutes of runtime out of the large scale petrol trucks, surely the X-Max can't compete. Well, actually, yes, it can, because LiPo batteries have come so far, and these days we're seeing some incredibly high capacity batteries. And this giant beast needs 2 of them. And I think this is the perfect time to talk about the new Turnigy Rapid LiPo packs. Now, the kind guys at Hobbyking have been kind enough to send these to me to feature on the channel. They're brand new, they're super high performance, and they actually have a discharge rating between 100 to 200C. I really like the design, they look exceptional, and all the running footage you've seen in today's video has been filmed using these batteries. And I've used a lot of batteries in the past from many different companies, and these are definitely up there. Hobbyking have been around for years, and they recently reopened their UK warehouse, which now means you can get all of your favourite Hobbyking products delivered to you in the UK within a couple of days. And these batteries should already be listed, but if they're not, they are due to be listed very soon. So I will leave some links down below so you can head over to Hobbyking and check them out. And today I'm actually running 2 of their brand new 6000 mAh 4S packs in my X-Max. So remember when I said about the initial cost and then all the other extras on top? Well, of course the X-Max doesn't come with batteries right out the box, so you will need 2 high performance lipos, just like the rapid packs I'm using today. Next up, we need to talk about one of the most important points in this video, and that is noise. Yes, this truck will offer over 40 minutes of runtime, but that's 40 minutes of this. It's so incredibly loud you can't even hear yourself speak. Now, because this truck is so loud, that is going to make a huge difference as to where you can actually run one of these. And look where I am today, I'm pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Not a single person or car has come down here in the last hour. So this is the perfect location to run something like this. And this isn't a truck you could run at your local park or even in your backyard, unless you have a huge yard and very friendly neighbours. And this is the same reason why nitro RC cars aren't as popular as they once used to be, especially here in the UK. Now, I only ever used to run nitro back in the day, and I was sick of getting told off about noise, and that was one of the reasons I got out of the hobby. And finding suitable locations to run these loud trucks is becoming harder and harder. Well, of course, the best solution is going electric. Going electric cuts out all of the noise, and whilst electric RC cars don't have the same character as a gas-powered RC car, they are so much more flexible, especially when it comes to finding a suitable location to run them. With the X-Max, even though it's a giant beast, I can pretty much run it anywhere I want without being told it's too loud. And electric RC cars being quiet and powerful is pretty much why they're so popular these days. So I need to answer the question, are large-scale RC cars worth the money? Yes, and yes, and yes! Large-scale is a totally different experience to running smaller RC cars. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, they're heavy, and sometimes extremely loud if you go down the gas route. But I love the size and how great they are to drive around. If you have the budget to do so, I would 100% recommend experiencing a large-scale RC car at least once if you are serious about the hobby. And if you're not serious about the hobby, I don't think I would recommend spending this level of cash. Now, as much as I love these trucks, I think the sweet spot when it comes to scale is definitely 1/10 scale. They're so much easier to transport, they're much lighter, they don't require 2 or more batteries to get you up and running. Some people may disagree and say 1/8 scale is better, and truthfully, I was 50-50. I just think the actual cost of owning and maintaining a 1/10 scale RC truck is a bit less. So let me know in the comments section if you think large scale RC is worth it. If I've missed any massive points, feel free to drop a comment down below. Now, I've got some time before I need to head home, but which one of these trucks should I run? If you enjoyed today's video, but these trucks are way out of your budget, click the top video now to check out my top 10 cheap RC cars for 2024, or click the bottom video to check out the full review of the 30 Degrees North.